I have partnered up with Alois to make some champion-specific guides for the Summoner School website. I tried to put a ton of information in every single one of these guides. Currently, I've made 3 champion guides for the Summoner School website. I have made a Garen guide, a Warwick guide, and a Mordekaiser guide. In these guides, you will find stuff like explaining all the runes, the items, matchups, and so on. And on top of every single video that the guide provides, there is also a matchup spreadsheet for every single one of these guides. If you wish to check out one of these guides, the link to the website will be in the video description. Now, with this introduction out of the way, please enjoy this video. This lane can be pretty tricky to play, especially in the early game. You can try to fight him at level 1, but if he takes his W, you have to space him and not actually sit in melee range and fight him. And this is because he's gonna get that W bite eventually, and that will heal him and deal even more damage. If he takes his E, then he can't really guarantee that it will damage you. So because of that, you can walk in and start fighting him. But be careful because he can still get that shield. Even if his E does not actually land to damage you, it can still do a lot for him because of the shield, especially if he has lethal tempo, because he's gonna ramp up in attack speed very quickly. There's also a chance he starts with Q, and if he does that, he's just gonna do auto Q and then walk away, and that's mostly fine for you. Starting level 2, he will probably have his E and Q, and because of that, what he's gonna look to do is charge at you with Q and then land his E. And if he lands that E, you will lose so much health in the early game. What you can do is fight him only when your W is almost fully stacked. And that way, even if his E connects and deals a bunch of damage to you, it won't really matter because your W should block it. You can also Q him just before his shield comes down, which means you're gonna deal that damage. And as I said previously, if your W shield is large, then you won't really take damage, but he'll take some. You should also buy heal reduction into Volibear. You can take either Oblivion Orb or Bramble Fist, but most of the time I tend to take Oblivion Orb. It's also worth noting that his ultimate makes him immune to yours. But if you can get your ultimate off, you can even stop his E. If Volibear casts his E outside of the Death Realm and then you take him in it, it won't follow. And if his E does not follow, it usually means you're going to win the 1v1. The way you can tell if he actually used his E is by looking at his mana bar to see if he actually cast his E or listening for the sound cue. Just before his E connects, there is a sound to let you know that it's been cast. Later on into the game, you're basically never going to be able to 1v1 him if he has Navori, and that's because he just auto attacks you too much. The only way you can 1v1 him is if you space him really well with your Rylai, and if you manage to do that, then it's not that bad. You can also unironically go Serpent's Fang into him if you wish, and that way you might be able to 1v1 him as well because you're gonna cut his healing with Oblivion Orb and his shielding with Serpent's Fang. Here I wait for my ultimate to come back off cooldown and I look to flash ulti him, but he actually reacted with his own ultimate and cancelled mine.
Shut down.
You have
This game, I thought it might be Lee Sin top, so I took the setup that I normally take into Lee Sin. Because of this, I do not have as much sustain into Gragas, which definitely sucks. Normally, my secondary is Resolve with Second Wind and Revitalize. And I don't really take Flash Ignite, I take Flash TP, because you're not really going to kill the Gragas if he plays well. Generally, all you're going to do is press your Q, and then Gragas is probably going to combo you, and you're gonna use your W to stop most of the damage from the combo. And that's just how the laning phase works. He presses Q and pokes you, you press Q and poke him, you sustain with your W, he sustains with his passive. Eventually he might run out of mana, but that will take a very long time. Though I will say for most of the laning phase you should have lane priority due to your sustain. Second Wind with Revitalize and Doran's Shield should give you enough health to where you can perma-push the Gragas in. Just don't greed for plates, because after level 6 he can ult you into the tower, then body slam you, and then you're probably going to die. You can also purchase Mercury Treads into Gragas if you wish, because his body slam has that knockback, but it also has a stun, and Mercury Treads will reduce that stun duration. But if Mercury Treads are taken just for the Gragas body slam, it might not be the best purchase there. If the enemy team has more auto attackers like a Lee Sin with a Jinx with a Yasuo, then plated steel caps are better. Though this does obviously mean you will suffer a bit more in the laning phase, because Mercury Treads are really good at stopping that Gragas E. As for your first legendary item, most of the time I like to go for Cosmic Drive or Hextech Rocket Belt, but you also have the option of Dusk and Dawn if you want. And then as my second item, if I want to, I can go for Spirit Visage. And with Spirit Visage, it's basically impossible for Gragas to ever damage you. The moment you purchase Spirit Visage, he will never be an issue on side lane ever. Try to get as much farm as you can, deny him as much as you can, and try to use that pressure that you have on him in lane. Maybe your jungler can go invade the enemy jungler because you have lane priority. And again, do not greed for plates. If you aren't careful, he's just gonna ult you into tower. It is a very boring lane, but not particularly difficult.
An enemy has been slain.
This lane is actually pretty good for Mordekaiser. I'd say you counter Garen for the most part. In melee range, you're basically always going to beat him after level 6 as long as you're not chunked. If you both continue to short trade into each other, that's bad for you. And this is because Garen's burst is much higher than yours. He's gonna do one spin and silence you and then ulti you. And that will typically kill you if you're both 50% health, and you won't be able to kill him before he kills you, even if your W is up. But if you're both at around 80% health or 90% health and you go into a fight, that's much better for you. This Garen was very aggressive, taking Doran's Blade and Conqueror, which means that in the early game he wants to fight a lot, but if he cannot find an advantage in the first 6 levels, it's pretty tough. Another thing you can do is purchase an early cloth armor into Garen, and even though it's not an insane amount of armor, that cloth armor is enough to deter Garen from just all-inning you. And then if you want to be even tankier, you can take the Giant's Belt component out of your Rylai's first and then go for the damage. One thing that's worth noting here is that you don't want to wait with your W too long. And this is because if Garen uses his Q, you're gonna get silenced and then you can't press your W, and then he's gonna ulti you and you're gonna die with your W up. So if it's possible, use W a little earlier than normal against him. Or if you have the reaction time against him, what you can do is use your W in the middle of his Q animation, because Garen does not actually silence you until that animation ends, until the swing actually connects with you. This is something that Riven does a lot into Garen. She presses her E in the middle of his Q animation, and Mordekaiser can do the same thing because it's an instant shield. The moment you purchase Rylai's, Garen can never escape you if you get your passive up. He either stack checks you in melee range or he dies. There's no in between. The only way he can realistically escape you is by not interacting with you at all. What he can look to do is perma proxy and ignore you, and if that happens, it can be difficult to chase him because he has that Q speed. If you manage to get close enough to him and ulti him, it's going to be great for you. But if he's able to keep his distance, it's going to be tougher. And if he has Storm Raider Surge, then he might be able to proc it and run away. However, most Garens aren't going to look to just perma, hyper, omega proxy. But if you do encounter one of these Garens, it will be trickier to actually gain a large advantage into him. What you're going to need to do is set up your own proxy so you can recall and stop his. If you just blindly chase him, you might not be able to get anything because again he has that Q speed.
Enemy has been slain. Enemy rampage.
Thank you guys for joining me in this video. I hope you found the information useful, and I will see you in the next video, hopefully very soon.